Ladies and gentlemen, esteemed panelists and our guests, good morning. It's a pleasure to welcome you to this discussion on a topic that is, it has become an important point of conversation in the last years. Our topic is the future of work in a post-pandemic world. So the COVID-19 pandemic has not only reshaped our world, but has also changed in a new whole way in the way we work. So challenging the traditional paradigms and accelerating trends that were once normal and before the pandemic. So today our different guests, panelists will discuss and share how this historical event has changed each profession in their work. So I'll now proceed. They will now proceed to introduce themselves. So if you would like to start.
Well, I'm Maria and I'm a psychologist.
I am Mauricio Rocha. I'm an industrial engineer. I work in Flushy Factory. I've been working there for 15 years, and I specialize in the logistics of the transport of restaurant parts.
Hi, I am Andrei Barbosa Vasquez. I'm a doctor. I finished my studies 11 years ago at Pleasant Park University.
My name is Carlos. I am a teacher. I give a geography class at Harvard University, and I have around 15 years of experience.
So as we advance through this panel, our panelists, each an expert in their topic, will share unique experience and insights into each challenge, opportunities that has come with the pandemic. So we will examine the role of the remote work, the impact on workplace, and the need for new skilling in every industry. So our goal is not only to put in perspective the situation in each industry, but more importantly, to talk about what's coming in the future, what trends will persist, what new patterns will emerge, how can business and individuals adapt to this evolving world, and crucially, what role does technology play in shaping the way we work? To our audience, feel free to ask as many questions as you like at the end of the panel. So without further ado, let's begin with the conversation, the future of work in a post-pandemic world. So we'll start with our first question, how the pandemic has affected the future of industrial engineering, first with our industrial engineer, Mauricio Rocha.
Thank you very much. In the post-pandemic era, the field of logistics and industrial engineering has changed a lot. As industrial engineers, the first lesson that we get is that the world is always innovating and we need to find solutions to optimize and be more efficient. As an industrial engineer, I adapted by embracing digital technologies for remote work, employing data analysis and predictive modeling to optimize supply chains. So, as my job, that was to deal with the logistics of the transportation of the Flushy Factory, I had to employ new techniques and new digital techniques. First, because I had to talk with our suppliers through digital platforms like Zoom or Google Meet, and then we had to arrange and schedule a new way, a new protocol of automation. Adaptability and agility became crucial, leading to the redesign of process and cross-training of employees. These challenges accelerated the digital transformation of the industry, making professionals more resilient, innovative, and prepared for future obstacles.
The future of all engineering has been affected a lot by this pandemic. The process had to be, as he said, all over written again. So many professions this has had an impact economically and in the way we work. So our next question is practically the same: how the pandemic has affected teaching in schools, profession that, well, as we know, as we know has been the most affected of all, or one of the most affected. So, Carlos Encalada, our teacher, can you explain?
Yes, so as we know, the pandemic has drastically changed the learning process as we know before. Nowadays, there exist many tools, such as digital platforms. We have Zoom, for example, Google Meet. Also, we have other platforms to deliver homeworks, for example. It can be, as a teacher, easier to have all the homeworks at once in place. Another example is that, for example, when it is bad weather, before the pandemic, most of the classes just canceled them. But now with these new platforms such as Zoom, as we have experienced before in this semester, we now just don't get the class canceled, and we can have the class from our house with the teachers and don't lose the day. Also, the classes can be recorded to maybe to study before an exam, or if someone was absent, they can retake the course. But in my opinion, not everything is positive. With these new technologies, one characteristic that students need to have is integrity. Integrity at the moment of write an essay or do an exam. And with these technologies such as AI, for example, in my opinion, is more difficult for teachers, for schools to control the students, to develop these competence that, in my opinion, all the graduates need to have.
Okay, so as we know, many students drop off from school in this difficult situation, and well, we have no doubt that if this pandemic happened in a different timeline, it would be much harder to continue the work of teachers and continue the developing of students. So now I have the same question for the most affected industry in the world. As we know, the COVID-19 is a virus that affected an important amount of the population. So the medical industry had to deal with this every day, with patients, with the danger that they faced every day. So our doctor, if you would like to explain how your work was affected by this post-pandemic.
Yes, during the pandemic, as in my case, the doctor, as you mentioned, we suffered a lot because a lot of people were suffering health issues, and as you mentioned, health topic was the most popular topic back in 2020 and 2021. So it was a really hard time with all that pandemic happening worldwide. But nowadays, 2 years after the pandemic, we can say one of the things that we can see drastically change are all the jobs. All the jobs have a permanent change after the COVID-19 pandemic, but in the health industry, one thing that was very popular, as I can say, is the telemedicine. To put you in context, the telemedicine is an open space. A lot of hospitals, doctors, everyone in the health industry were using. Telemedicine is basically an open space via online. You can have a personal call, a Zoom meeting, for you to have, if you feel symptoms, you can have it diagnosed very fast. This was a very important solution back in 2020 because, as I mentioned, hospitals, one of the biggest issues worldwide were that a lot of hospitals have the capacity over the roofs, and this will have a really negative impact on the people because some people died because of this. They had the lack of health awareness and health help they should have had. So, as I mentioned, telemedicine was one of the most important changes. And speaking about telemedicine, one of the studies mentioned by a doctor in Harvard said that in 2019, only 11% were about telemedicine. And after the pandemic, more than 52% of a lot of the issues people have were resolved by telemedicine. And to finish off, I think in my area, in the medicine area, it is not about how the job changed because, as you mentioned, we are doctors and doctors need to have the capacity to solve all the illnesses. So I think the pandemic affected in our area not about the job changing. It's more about like the personal way you see it. Doctors need to be prepared to what is next. Doctors need to be prepared to what pandemic is coming next, what illness is coming next. And basically we need to be really prepared to the next global issue we need to save as a humanity.
Okay, so yes, this has been, as he said, a very affected industry. So the medical goes by hand with the psychological health. So we have no doubt that the psychological state of many people, for not saying all the people in the world, has been affected by this pandemic. So as we have our psychological expert here, I would like to ask, well, in this industry, in this area, the psychological, how has been affected? How have people been affected by this pandemic psychologically?
Okay, so as a psychologist, COVID-19 has had a great impact both on my job and on people. Citizens are overall feeling much more stressed, anxious, and sad because of the pandemic and the uncertainty, being alone, and the fear of getting sick are taking a toll on people's mental health around the world. In my everyday work, I had to face a lot of situations, and most of them I still face them today. First of all, I had to be okay with myself and understand everything that was happening for me to be able to help everyone. Moving from meeting people in person to meeting them online was also something really challenging because it's hard for me that I was used to meeting people face to face, to seeing their emotions, to understanding small things that as a psychologist I'm able to understand when I'm seeing someone face to face. Moving from that to having to understand from one day to another the emotions through a screen, it was something really complicated. But it's something that I'm still today learning how to implement and get better. But even with all these challenges, using online platforms has been good. It helps keep mental support still going on, even though we can't be there. If someone can't come to my office or whatever, I'm still there through a screen, and this is something really useful. And the pandemic keeps changing, so I have to be flexible and keep adapting to everything and be prepared for in a future case that something like this occurs again. And it has overall shown how important it is to be strong, adaptable, and caring to understand and support everyone in a global crisis like this one, that overall it has a lot of consequences in mental health.
Yes, well, so we have no doubt that it has been one of the positive changes that the pandemic has brought to us. The consciousness of the mental health has been, well, stronger than ever. So now that we have explained how has been affected each of the industries, each of the professions of the panelists, we have been focusing a lot on the bad things of the pandemic, but the pandemic has brought to us a massive technological evolution and evolution in other aspects also. So I would like to ask this question to our industrial engineering. How would you say the pandemic has benefit or damaged the way industrial engineers work? Yes, what would you think about it?
The pandemic has affected the industry in several ways, but I think I have identified three benefits. from this global catastrophe, which is number one, the acceleration of the digital world, which is that nowadays, if you weren't doing some things in your industry, if you were doing manually, for example, in my industry of restroom parts, if you were counting them manually, now you have to, by obligation, put it in a digital software. And I think that has been good for our industry because we are accelerating the way that we are transforming the world through digital software and digital tools. Number two, I think, is that now we have remote work opportunities. Now you don't have to present yourself every day at your job, and now you can have more flexibility if you want to balance your personal life with some other things. Or maybe now you can connect with your colleagues of your supply chain. For example, we send a lot of parts to the United States. Now we can contact them easier, and we can schedule a meeting through a digital platform, and we don't have to arrange a flight or a personal meeting. And I think this has been the second benefit. And the third benefit is that it has accelerated the supply chain. Now it's easier to transport one thing from one place to another because there has been more focus on this part of how to accelerate and optimize a supply chain.
So yes, as we said, there has been benefits in post-pandemic world in industrial engineering work. So I want to advance to our teachers. So as you said, the pandemic has brought new platforms into the digital platforms into the school, into the students. So I want to ask you, how has the relation and interaction between teacher and students have been affected? What are the benefits and challenges that you have faced through this new way of work? As you said, this is a new way of work for all teachers.
Yeah, so from my experience, it was very challenging from beginning to end to interact with the students, to keep the class. I think it is very difficult to being sure that all students are paying attention to the whole class with all the distractions that they have at home. Also, it is not the same the interaction they have between the students themselves. Being in a class, being surrounded by all your classmates, it is not the same feeling that being alone, maybe in your home, just paying attention. Also, these new platforms, of course, they give a new possibility of giving class at a distance, but I think they were much more challenging points than benefits. These interactions where they just feel like cold with no humanity at all. It was like just seeing your screen. Well, I think that this school have had being like a wall between the student and the teacher. It was not the same. I think this situation that we have, this situation was not the best for the education, but of course it was necessary during that time, and I think it was necessary to make the classes online during that period of time.
So yes, we said this the interaction has been damaged a lot in this time, but we have no doubt that schools are recovering already, and they have recovered the interaction between teacher and students. So in the medical industry, you already stated benefits. You already stated how had this changed. So I want to ask you, do future generations of medical studies should be aware of this happening again, and how would work shift if this happened again?
Yes, future generations need to have in mind what happened before and what we need to be prepared of in the future. I think if I were the leader, like for the doctors, we need to change the stereotype of, oh, we need to change the job, we need to change the habit of be prepared. Although new generations are having stuff we didn't have, like intelligent AI or many more technologies. So as I mentioned, I will see it like we need to correct the errors we did in the past. So in the future, we're ready for this, because in the health area, it's very important. For example, we're not playing with economy, we're not moving money, we're moving and we're talking about people's lives. We need to focus on that. It is the most important thing every human should have. When the pandemic come by, we were having a lot of innocent people dying because all the issues I mentioned before. Maybe the vaccine wasn't fast enough. Maybe the hospitals didn't have enough capacity. Maybe people were having enough hygiene. That's the reasons I mentioned that we need to be prepared. We're talking and we're saving someone's mom, someone's dad, people that are really important. And me as a doctor, I can say, and with experience, I think we are the responsibles and we need to have security and have the people being safe, like to pass that security so the people can be happy and safe and can have enough trust in us.
Thank you. So yes, we have no doubt that we have to be careful of this happening again, and we have to be prepared for what can come in the medical area. So for our psychological territory, so you stated a lot that the pandemic has affected a lot mental health, stress, depression, and other kinds of mental conditions. So would you as a psychologist, what would you say as a psychologist that are the main consequences of the pandemic on people's mental health?
Well, I would say that the most I've seen and the most I've treated are a sense of uncertainty, a threat of illness, really high levels of stress, anxiety, depression. Also, social isolation has led to feelings of loneliness and to disconnection of all like the society. Moreover, financial strain, like also many people are scared with their job, like they have a lot of job insecurity, and like in general, disruption in routine. Also, the exposure to a lot of like news and the prevalence of misinformation has also fueled like more levels of anxiety, because people weren't sure of what was like true, what was not, and that they created a lot of anxiety. Also, like something essential has been the loss of the loved ones. This has like been really complicated and has led to really complicated grief processes. But however, the pandemic has also had this good thing and a good consequence that has been emphasizing the need for resilience and to implement strategies to be able to help the community and to support the community in general with these challenges.
So, well, yes, we have to be, now we have a stronger system to take care of our mental health. So we have listened to everyone's opinion, to every panelist's opinion. We have listened to the teacher and student relations, how have they been damaged. We have listened to the consequences of the pandemic in the medical industry, how had it been difficult for the doctors. We have also listened from our industrial engineer, how the process have been changed, how benefited the post-pandemic era has been, and also how has it affected mentally. So we have no doubt that the pandemic had brought us benefits and well, damages to our society. So if anyone in our audience has a question regarding all our topics that we have discussed, feel free to participate.
Okay, yeah. So you were mentioning about some psychological issues that people face, and you told us how the people react after pandemic in terms of psychological issues, which was really refreshing actually in the way we lived and coexisted in those times. Because as now most of them still wear masks and we're still afraid of the virus. So my question is, do you think that people right now already surpassed that situation, or is there people who is still afraid of the virus?
What I see in my day to day, there are consequences that are not only limited to like what we lived in that moment. The consequences, we still live them today. There's many people who are anxious. What I basically like explained, they're anxious of this situation, like repeating. Many people are still like living the grief. They are scared that if this happens again, what will they face? Many people are really scared of like viruses. They wear masks. This is not something that the society has already like treated and everyone is okay. And no, this is something that is still today, and it will probably be like here in society for a long time because it has caused on many people a lot of trauma. So yes, unfortunately, it will be here for a long time.
So yes, this has been a lot of time.
We don't have more time for questions. I'm sorry. Is that okay?
More than a year that the people have been through this. So yes, thank you for your for your participation. So in conclusion, our panel discussion on the future of work in a post-pandemic world has shown us the perspective from all our panelists. So yes, as we step into this field of the future of work, it is clear that this is a dynamic evolution of technology and humanity, collaboration, adaptability, flexibility. These are some characteristics of this new era. So thank you to all our panelists for your participation. Thank you to the audience for your attention and your participation as well. So yes, thank you for contributing to this discussion of the benefits and challenges that the post-pandemic era can bring to the future of work from different perspectives.